A unique graduation show will happen today in Toronto for teens who have been learning magic. The young apprentices will be showcasing the tricks they've mastered over the past year: cards, coins, disappearing coins, the occasional abracadabra. But they're not just any students. They're young offenders from a local detention center, either on probation or serving community service orders. The program they've been enrolled in was developed by Pact Crime Youth Reduction, intended to help them reconnect with communities, ultimately curb youth crime in the city. We spoke with a magician who was getting ready to teach them just before the project began last year, and David Grossfield, a.k.a. Baldini, is with us again this morning. Good morning.
Good morning, Andy.
So describe the young people you're working with.
Well, it's an interesting thing. I mean, you walk into the detention center for the very first session, and then they call in about 8 to 10 kids, age range 14 to 17, and they walk in full of attitude, as to be expected, and looking at me like, here comes another guy giving us some sort of speech about how we can better ourselves. And then all I do is pull out one magic trick, and the next thing I know, I got their attention, and you say, you had me at hello? Well, I had these guys at the first magic trick, and it's an amazing thing to take these kids who have committed crimes, made a bad choice at a bad time, and attempt to rehabilitate them with something that might ignite a passion in them and steer them away from crime. So that was my first impression.
I was talking about Steve Martin and Johnny Carson before the break.
The great Baldini.
People, we could go on, by the way, not just entertainers, who began understanding self-confidence and poise through magic. For people who have never had this experience, could you explain why magic winds up being such a vehicle for these kids to grow into?
Well, if I could say, if there were such a drug that were not bad for you, you could have as much of it as you want and it doesn't cost anything, unless you're hiring me. That would be magic, and it's an amazing thing to have the ability to make someone smile in an instant. I've done magic on a bank teller, on a waiter, someone who was having a bad day, someone just broke up with their girlfriend or boyfriend, and I do one or two tricks, and they're like, thank you, I needed that. It really is a genuine drug that is good for you.
It is also, and I was a terrible athlete as a kid when I took up magic as a hobby. It is, and I know we overuse this word a lot, empowering.
Absolutely.
A magician has power. He knows something you don't. It's all about fun and entertainment. In a sense, the audience doesn't even really want to know how the trick is done. But it must be incredible for these kids to go from being audience to being magician. What's that like, taking them over that?
Well, you've touched on an interesting point, because it's, I believe, incumbent upon the magician to adopt a passive attitude. If you come off cocky, like, I know something you don't, that's not magic. That's a challenge, and you leave people with a bad taste in their mouth. So what we do teach the kids is, while we will empower you with this knowledge, you have to harness that knowledge and use it properly, and never go, ha, 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 I got you, but realize that you have this ability to make someone smile, and respect that.
Describe some breakthrough moments for me teaching these kids magic.
Well, I mean, we just finished the 6 weeks, or the 5-week program, and tonight is the finale for session 2 of Pact Magic. If I could go back to Pact 1, when we did the finale, and we had 40, 50 people in the detention center. These would be the mothers, the sisters, the brothers of the kids in detention. And just to see each one go up there, and if I flip back 5 weeks earlier where they're giving the attitude, and I'm like, can I even pull this off, to 5 weeks later, getting up in front of an audience, doing these tricks that I had taught them with full authority and confidence. It's just, I'm just chills, like I'm just overflowing with pride.
The most important thing, I should think, that would come out of this for them is the discipline of practice. You don't learn a trick and then turn it right around and show it to someone. You have to practice it and practice it and practice it in front of a mirror or whatever. Has it been difficult teaching kids who don't understand that kind of discipline, what it requires?
It's interesting, because, again, if you plant a seed, it's something that they genuinely enjoy. That kind of stuff comes, I believe, almost effortlessly. I mean, I'm not there. I'm there for for 2 hours, an hour and a half each week for 5 weeks, and we encourage them to practice, and then they got time on their hands. So, I assume they do practice. And last year when we did the finale show, it was clear that the kids had practiced. So it's not like, practicing piano or practicing guitar or reading a book to study for a test. This is something they genuinely want to do, are interested in doing. And, a sidestep, for me, people say, you must practice all the time. Well, practice has this negative connotation. It's like, it's what I want to be doing. So I assume that's what it's like for them as well.
And what has the magician learned from the sorcerer's apprentices?
What have I learned from them? That, to be humbled, and to realize that I was born into a good family and was put on a proper path, and that some kids just are born in certain areas where they're crime-ridden, and it's just the way it is. And unfortunately, again, they made bad choices at bad times, but a lot of that has to do with their environment, and that's what PAC believes in, is rehabilitating these kids, that they shouldn't be punished, they shouldn't not have the privilege, they should have the ability to be rehabilitated.
The kids from the first run-through, the first program, what have they gone on to do in terms of making magic a part of their lives? Because this is a discipline you can grow, of course.
Yes.
You don't have to be a professional performer, but there are thousands of tricks to be learned. Have they stuck with it, do you know?
I'm not aware of any kids who are in the program that aren't in the detention from the first time that are in the detention center, but PACT has life skill programs, so once they do get out, PACT's door is wide open, for coaching and to even get back in touch with us, because myself and several magicians who've come in to guest lecture are more than happy to meet with these kids outside of the detention center if that means pushing them along. So
I'm going to ask you a last question for kids who don't reach that sorry state of being in a detention center, but there are lots of parents who have lots of children who could profit from the kind of poise magic could teach them. What would you suggest they do? Where would they start?
Well, and you mentioned this to me too, because I know you shop there, but the Browser's Den of Magic, where I buy a lot of my magic gear.
To Young and Bathurst. Eglinton and Bathurst.
Eglinton and Bathurst.
And there's another Morrissey Magic up on
Dufferin, north of Eglinton.
A couple of really good magic stores in this city.
I just live closer to the Browsers, and that's where I've been going. Jeff Pinsky's there, the owner, and they have classes. Actually, a gentleman by the name of Jeff Henchcliffe, who was one of my guest magicians and will be performing tonight. He offers courses, beginner, medium, and advanced courses. So browsersden.com, and that's the first place to start for lessons. And I give lessons too.
And your local library, by the way.
Absolutely. And the internet
lessons,
for crying out loud.
Internet, local libraries.
Google
it's amazing
Magic.
how many tricks you can learn the solutions to just going to the library, which is how I started. Most people won't bother because they don't want to know, right?
This is true.
They don't want to know. David, congratulations.
Thank you, Andy.
And thanks for the tricks you showed me during the news.